All right, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar here at Scylla today. We will be talking about the future AI, benefits and risks, and I'm really excited to share everything with you. We have a great list of panelists that we have on here as well. And then also, just a side note, I wanted to let you know we will be recording this webinar and a link will be sent to you after we've completed it. And then also we will be having a Q&A session at the end. So please just keep your questions until the very end and then you can put them in the chat box. So also, just to make some quick introductions, I'll start with myself. My name is Katie Krug. I'm a business development manager here at Scylla, and I focus mostly on the North America market, specifically manufacturing and retail. Chris, I will let you go next, and then everyone else can introduce themselves as well. Oh, you're on mute, Chris.
Technically challenged. My name is Chris Greiner. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Scylla. I have over 30 years in technology and specifically security. So Andre, I'll pass it to you.
Thanks, Chris. My name is Andre Kopian. I serve as the VP of Customer Success and product here at Scylla, and I have an 18-year background as a security integrator.
Hi, I'm Radoslav. I work for Scylla as a channel partner manager, mainly focused in Europe. I have extensive experience, more than 20 years in the security business.
Hi, I'm Parva. Hey, I'm Parva Ibrahimian. I'm leading the strategic partnerships at Scylla. Background is mainly in public policy and think tanks previously.
All right, great. Thanks so much, everyone. And next, we will have Rue talk a little bit about the benefits and risks of AI.
Okay, so as you know, like the AI is kind of a hot topic. It's been a while and it's getting bigger and bigger. It opens a lot of new debates. It's obviously has many benefits. It opens up doors of opportunities for companies, for societies, and the rest. It solves a lot of problems like reducing human errors, let's say, like significantly increasing the accuracy and precision of processes, because the decisions taken by the AI, like in every step, is decided by the information previously gathered, and of course, like certain sets of algorithms. And when it's like programmed properly, these errors can be reduced to zero. So AI can benefit in other ways as well, like let's say some tasks that humans can't overcome, AI can easily do, like reducing, like even at zero risks, let's say letting AI robots do some tasks like, I don't know, exploring the deepest parts of the ocean or doing operations in extreme conditions, etc. Or whether in the sector that we are currently involved in security, working with cameras, like the AI can, let's say, productively work 24/7 while humans also need breaks, and and the AI thinks much faster than humans and can perform like multiple tasks at the time with accurate results. Besides, AI can be a really good like digital assistant to humans. For example, like some chatbots like are built in a way that makes it's really difficult to tell whether you're talking with a human or a chatbot. It also helps. It can help like to take some, let's say, reduce the biased decision makings, because human decision making are driven mainly, like not mainly, but also by emotions, whether we like it or not. And the AI can be like very rational, like practical in approaches compared to humans. Also, it can do like repetitive jobs, etc. Like obviously the benefits are too many. Just some examples to mention, but also, of course, like any other weapon in bad hands or with bad intentions, it can open also the doors, kind of a box of Pandora. But also there are a lot of it raises a lot of challenges, debates also in academia, also in practical stances. Like I will point out maybe several risks that AI brings currently and in the future will bring. It's like, first of all, I would point out the lack of AI implementation traceability. Like most of the enterprise employees currently use non-approved like SaaS applications at work, and not necessarily for bad reasons or purposes, but to increase the productivity, etc. So it's easy to purchase and implement, etc. And the IT teams, like the risk management teams, are not capable or not ready to kind of monitor it. So the traceability is considered as a key kind of requirement for trustworthy artificial intelligence. Trying to kind of maintain the accountability of the provenance of data, processes, tools that are involved in creating certain AI models and systems. So currently there is no like kind of a common approach in order to address this issue, to trace, to track the traceability kind of. Another challenge or the risk of AI can be maybe like like we say, AI helps humans kind of taking unbiased decisions, but it also can really deepen this biased biases into decision-making process, because AI systems learn from the data set on which they were trained, and depending like how this compilation occurred, there is potential for the data set to kind of reflect assumptions or biases. These biases could then like further deepen the errors in decision making. So AI can help identify and reduce the human biases, like human mistakes, but it also can kind of harden the situation and make it even worse. Like there are definitely different examples practically. Like, for example, Amazon stopped using hiring algorithms after finding it kind of favored applicants based on words like executed or captured that were more commonly found on men's resumes, for example, or facial recognition technologies had kind of a higher error rates for minorities, and particularly for women minority groups, potentially due to like unrepresentative training data. So there are a lot of biases which could lead in decision-making errors. Also, there's ethical issues which I would further explain. So for businesses, they kind of need to establish responsible processes that can mitigate bias, which is hard to do, of course, because there is no like commonly agreed or technical tools or operational practices. Another like major risk is, of course, like data sourcing and violation of personal privacy. Like if, let's say, 5 years ago, the data sphere, let's say, was about like 33 trillion gigabytes. In 2-3 years, it's going to be about 175 trillion gigabytes of data that can be, and more data, more risks to expose for customers, for employees. So personal privacy will become even harder to protect. So many companies, as we know, use the AI to analyze data, predict the consumer behaviors, track the kind of origins of human decision makings, or categorizing the decision makings origins, but highly like complicated set of information. So it's also hard to protect. Another major risk I would point out would be like so-called black box algorithms. So which is like lack of transparency. As people in AI know, like AI algorithms are a very complex, kind of set of data, set of processes, data, tools, and many, because of lack of transparency, some of the algorithms are referred to as black box. So even if it has a black box, it's still currently the primary method of deep learning modeling. So it's generally difficult for data scientists, programmers, and users to interpret those algorithms, because the inputs, there are like millions of data points that are inputted to get these algorithms. And then it's hard to identify the correlation between specific data which produce the outputs. So it's hard to interpret how, like, from where the input came from and what was the logic. So it's unexplainable, kind of. So that's why we sometimes talk about the field of explainable AI, that can kind of understand how the AI models and systems came to an outcome that it came. So it kind of advocates to more traceable explanations for each of the decisions the AI of the creative AI algorithms. And maybe the final one of the main challenges is and will be the unclear legal responsibility, because again, it's a complex thing, and a lot of information, a lot of data, a lot of stakeholders involved, and the risk is not theoretical; it's very like practical. Let's say if a self-driving car hits and kills someone, a pedestrian, let's say, who is responsible for that? Like let's say the car's human kind of backup driver that was not paying attention, like proper attention, or it's the AI system, or whatever, the AI system failed. Like it raises a lot of debates on who's going to take and which part of responsibility will be kind of distributed. So it raises a lot of legal and human rights issues, such as like transparency of algorithms, the cybersecurity vulnerability, whether it's fair or not, like it's biased or sensitive to discrimination, or what, and many other like risks that the legislations, like many countries, like European Union introduced like GDPR system. US has not the US, but California state has its own kind of directives. Brazil, different countries have their norms, but they're still far from being very, let's say, up to date for the current situation, because the situation is growing and changing very fast. Maybe that's the main points I would like to mention.
All right, thanks so much, Peru. Yeah, as you can see, there are some different risks to consider as you're looking at AI, but a lot of times the benefits really outweigh the risks. And so next, we are going to talk about a couple of different scenarios. So Radoslav and Chris are going to share some different stories about some different AI stories.
So I think most of us have seen or are familiar with the Terminator. You know, everybody gets the idea of AI taking over the world and being used for bad. You know, there are stories of AI where it's gone wrong, right? And typically it's based on human error that has caused it to go wrong. You know, for example, there was a few years back, Microsoft was going to use a AI to do their chat boxes and communicate with their customers in place of a human. Well, humans were pretty quick to pick up on that, and pretty soon they were manipulating the AI just like a little child. And they taught that AI for Microsoft to be literally a racist Nazi within one day. So Microsoft realized and they shut it down really quick. But you know, just an area where AIs can go wrong. I think Radek, you got a couple examples.
Right. For instance, in Germany recently, when the owner of the apartment was out, in the middle of the night, Alexa suddenly started playing music very loudly. So neighbors called the police to shut down this party, and cops came, broke the door because the owner was out, and switched off simply the Alexa. So the owner got the nice ticket for it, of course.
So there's a lot of examples of AI gone wrong over the years where, we as humans, we're a little shocked, we're a little amused, we laugh, but there's areas where, it can go wrong, but it can also be used for good. So the good exceedingly outweighs or overweighs the bad. What is AI? It's replacement of a human, right? It takes a human, redundant and named tasks, and automates it with with a true, with the AI that never blinks, it never sleeps, never looks away. It's got perfect memory. There's a lot of things that go through. So, reduction in human errors, it can take over and do tasks that are dangerous for humans that, 24/7. There's a lot of different factors about, where AI can be used for good. Where Scylla does it, our AI is a neural network, right? It's not just a rules-based pixelation change. We specialize in computer vision. So in our case, what we're doing is we're replacing a human watching video cameras live and in real time. So maybe next slide, Katie. So we're watching live and in real time. We watch for objects, we watch for actions, we watch for anomalies. A human could only watch cameras 4 or 5 cameras for 4 or 5 minutes before you start missing things. But the AI, as I mentioned, it just quietly sits, watches dozens, hundreds, thousands. There's literally no limit to the number of cameras that Scylla's AI can watch. And go ahead and flip to the next slide. So we're watching for those objects, those actions, those anomalies, and we've trained our AI under the umbrella of physical safety and security and retail. So all of the use cases and that would be applicable to those would be for identifying things like guns, like in temperature monitoring. We can do thermal monitoring of things like trash piles, waste management companies, industrial uses like lithium batteries, which gradually increase in temperature. So we're watching for temperature increases, we can watch for smoke, we can watch for fire, we're incredibly accurate with watching for humans and vehicles, things that a human can't see, the AI can see. Things like fights, talk to us, smoke, fire. Next slide. One other thing that is unique about Scylla is we work with moving backgrounds. So things like dash cams, body cams, pan tilt zooms, drones. We can work and we can watch for any of those things that you want to watch for in place of a human. So there's a lot of different benefits about what Scylla can do. We can interact with things like if the AI is sitting, it's watching, we're watching for guns, we can immediately identify that person. We can identify that person as having a weapon. We can identify them, remember what they look like, track them as they move from camera to camera, simultaneously sending alerts to security, to police, wherever you want those alerts to go. At the same time, we could tie into access control systems, unified messaging systems, and we can also tie into the access control and lock and unlock doors. There's just so many different things that the AI can do and multitask simultaneously that a human just couldn't do all at the same time. And at a time when when seconds are precious, it gives that real-time situational awareness. Every camera turns into an additional set of eyes, so that, for dozens, hundreds, thousands of, it's like having that in place of humans and additional security guards. So, next slide.
I think back to this one, right, Chris? Or was there anything
Yeah.
else that you wanted to talk about with this one?
No, different things. Scylla is a server-based solution. Our servers can reside in the cloud. We can reside on premise. We have edge appliances that can all be hosted centrally, either inside a firewall. We don't require internet for our AI to work. They can all be managed centrally from a cloud if you want. You can manage dozens, hundreds, thousands of different locations. Things like bags left behind, just identifying traffic flow analysis and heat mapping where people are going for retail, using face as a ticket to make a contactless payment method. There's just so many different things that we can train our AI for. So, when we're talking about whether AI can be used for good, it can be used for bad, the good heavily outweighs any of the negatives as far as making us more efficient in our processes, more efficient in the way that we do things, and just the exponential increases in being able to make our environments more safe and secure.
All right, thanks so much, Chris. And yeah, definitely there's a lot of stories that are out there. I just read one the other day that had talked about some new AI solution that's being used to identify potential stroke patients before they actually have a stroke. So all kinds of different great benefits for AI. So thanks so much for sharing that. Now to move on and talk a little bit about ethical AI. So we've talked about benefits and risks, and this really moves us into our next component of this and really taking a look at the ethical use of it. So it's really important when evaluating AI to look at this from an ethical perspective. So there are, of course, many benefits to AI, but of course it has to be used responsibly. So taking a look specifically at Scylla's AI, a couple of things to note here. We are free of ethnic, racial, and gender biases. So as Peru had mentioned earlier, we do adhere to the rules for GDPR in Europe, as well as the Consumer Protection Act in California. So those are some of the strictest regulations in terms of AI, and we conform to both of those. We protect privacy, of course, another big one. We are not used for any ethnic identification. I think that we've heard probably some different stories in other countries, but we really focus on that privacy and protection, and we are not doing any type of ethnic identification. And then lastly, again, we just really ensure the ethical use. So I've been here at Scylla for about 1.5 years, and I've just continually been impressed with us as a company and the importance of using AI ethically. So that's very important to us as a company here at Scylla. So we'll move on. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to say, so, if AI is replacing people, right, and you have a response, when the AI is created, it's like a newborn baby. It's got all this potential to learn. And if you have responsible parents, responsible company, or responsible, owner, basically, trainer, which Scylla is, then you come up with a very ethical AI in the process. Similar, if you have bad parents, you could have a child, be raised with bad attitudes, just bad behavior. There's a lot of different things. So it's very important to make sure that the company who's developing the AI and your neural networks are ethical in their approach.
Yes, absolutely. And Andre's going to expand on that a little bit and talk a little bit more in depth about ethical AI.
Thanks, Katie. You said it right, Chris. I mean, you treat the AI as a child. If you raise your child to think a certain way and to have certain, opinions, it's going to go through life expressing those opinions the same way. AI is really, Scylla's AI is Scylla's baby. Our engineers gave birth to that model, and that model was trained, in our control. So, you talk about. We've all heard of AI tech incorrectly identifying persons of color and women, and that's predominantly on social media platforms that we read about. And everybody always talks about when AI does it wrong. Nobody really talks about, you know, when AI gets it right, unfortunately. But you know, that technology was being used, and it was hinged on data sets that it was provided by its curators, right? So and unfortunately, those were garnered with what we call imbalanced training data, and that results in a model that was not free of bias. And essentially, what that means is it's rushed to market, right? And you know, the data being used for training in that case, it consisted primarily of Caucasian males. So if you raise your child to only understand and validate, you know, white males, Caucasian males, it's going to be surprised and not know what to do going out in the real world, coming across people of color, coming across women. And the same way. So, you know, AI cross-references and makes decisions based on the data that's available to it. So as a company, if you want to be ethical, you have to invest a lot of time, effort, and resource into making sure that, you know, your AI is scrutinized. So Scylla's approach to building like a scalable, reliable model has always been and always will be, you know, to scrutinize it. And once we think we've scrutinized the model enough, you go in and you scrutinize it again. So, you know, we do so by we emulate environments where the AI can perform out of the spotlight, you know, throwing curveballs at it to see how it will respond. We essentially try to break the AI to understand its weaknesses and to improve upon it before we give you, you know, or give the public a scalable commercial product. So, and it's not until it passes the flying colors, you know, and that we'll send it out there and to face real world scenarios, you know, that will give it like the ability to impress. You know, we want to be able to garner trust by you know, coexist humans and AI, humans and automation, humans and robotics. You know, if done correctly, it's beneficial. It's not like Chris mentioned, the Terminator. You know, even in the Terminator, you know, you had the T-100 that was sent back into the future. That was programmed to protect, whereas the other one was programmed to destroy. So, you know, AI can be programmed to do beneficial things, and it can be programmed to do, you know, to harm. So we talk about protecting privacy. Personal data, as we all know, is invaluable to, you know, organizations, companies, right? It's used to create marketing campaigns, and we all see it when you go to a website. You got to accept cookies, and if you really go in there to manage them, you'll see they'll flat out tell you we're gonna sell your, you know, information to third party unless you uncheck this, right? The same really works for facial recognition. Your identity, your features, those are considered personal. In a lot of states and jurisdictions, it is considered lawfully your personal, you know, information. So that needs to be protected, and it should only be, you know, used for purposes that it was intended. Scylla goes around that by not recording anything. Scylla doesn't store, doesn't, you know, doesn't archive any of the data that we see real time, because we are a real time engine. We don't do things forensically unless you know, the operator initiates. So we use what we call a passive retention approach, and to overcome these privacy concerns. You know, we refrain from storing footage or images on any of our platforms. In addition to that, there are jurisdictions that don't allow facial recognition technology at all. And in those cases, we turn off face, and our engines are so powerful that we can actually search for people and even track people based strictly on appearance. So whether that be a blue sweater, red hat, and a backpack, or, you know, flip-flops and shorts, you know, that criteria can be used to actively and effectively search for a person in video, for example, forensically. Next slide, Katie. And, you know, some AI analytics solutions can be used to identify and track, you know, persecuted ethnic groups. AI models have been developed by a lot of companies in the past, right? They that can be used to identify and track certain people, whether that be people of color, and that violates human rights on many levels. So Scylla software cannot be used in this manner. We haven't trained it. It physically can't do it because it has no data sets to cross-reference and perform in that matter. We just won't allow it, and we simply won't develop it into our models. So the models don't consist of such data, so our AI cannot cross-reference, you know, data that allow to detect a person based on ethnic features, because it's just not there. None of the stuff we use was ever open source. It's not you know, data that's collected from other platforms to speed up production. Everything's always been raw. Everything's been built from the ground up. As a company, we've always wanted to, you know, take the ethical approach, because, you know, our engineers are very, very talented in what they do, and you know, they think 10 days ahead. So knowing that, ethics was going to be a crucial part of building a product that, the end user can trust, it really morphed what the product is today. And ethical use, companies generally, we definitely need to take great care to ensure that the software doesn't end up in the hands of organizations that can utilize it for example, mass surveillance of society, which I'm not going to name any countries, but we all know who they do it. And it's a time-consuming process, right? To be able to do that, to factor that into your development. And unfortunately, a lot of companies don't put those resources in. Scylla will, we perform a thorough due diligence process for any incoming prospect, right? I mean, Katie, Chris, we put in a lot of effort and vet the end user, even through channel partnerships. We won't license the product unless we are absolutely 100% sure that there's nothing, the software's not going to be used to do harm. We developed it to make the world a safer place, to help humans be more efficient, to help security companies have the tools they need to save lives. That's what we always set out to do, and we're sticking to it. So
that's the one thing. It's about having just like a child, and you're bringing that child up from a newborn baby to mature adult. It's having a responsible parent that teaches it and trains it and guides it along the way. And that's what Scylla is to our AI. We are the responsible parent that is training it in such a manner that it's going to be a betterment to society, make our world a more safe and secure place, opposed to being used for any negative ways.
There is even more, if I can add. We do it very responsible, but we do it with the supervision. So any new model is tested, the result is compared to the previous ones. So this is very important because on the beginning, Pius said that sometimes it is called like a black box, where especially the deep learning algorithms, they find the solution on answer by themselves. I mean the neural networks and all the inside the layers. So this is or the hidden layers. So this is what we do. We always supervise this process to learn and to train the model and to test and validate.
Awesome. Great discussion, everyone, about ethical AI. Really appreciate it. So just to note, of course, we work with a number of different customers across the globe. We are a startup company. We've been around for about 4 years, but we've really become an industry disruptor, again, across the globe in a number of different industries. So some of our largest customers that we have today, and some of the most notable, Daimler, their manufacturing plants, Iowa State Fair, Oman Airports, Georgia Veterans Home, we have Konica Minolta, USC Hospitals and Clinics, the Cubs, Wrigley Field, and a number of others that we actually have NDAs in place that we're not able to discuss. But one of the other great things too about Scylla is that we're a very integration-friendly company. So we have a number of integrations with not only VMS providers, as you can see with some of the larger ones like Milestone and Genetech, but also third-party access control, and then a number of different applications that really work well with Scylla to make for a more beneficial solution for the end user, whether it be a 911 messaging app, etc. And so I believe that leads us to our questions and answers. Chris, I'll have you moderate that. It looks like we have a couple of questions in the chat box. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to write that in the chat box and we will go through the questions now.
So first one, so Scylla examples seem to be focused on visual data. Does Scylla also provide AI for processing other types of data? Example, audio. So Scylla is computer vision. So whatever the camera can see, Scylla can analyze and process. Just like what your eye sees, Your brain analyzes and processes and makes a decision on what to do with that. That's what Scylla does. While we can trigger external relays and trigger audio, sensors, that's the extent of how we interact with that. Andre, would you like to add anything on that?
Right. I think the question was, if I understood it correctly as well, like EG audio would be a microphone inside a camera. You hear gunshots. That's audio detection. Scylla doesn't focus on that. Like Chris mentioned, it's computer vision. What you see is what you turn into an actionable event. So that's not to say that won't be available in the future as an add-on for existing IP cameras, but it's not something we focus on. We our aim, our whole goal, our core value was to see through the eyes of a camera and give organizations many eyes in the sky. The same question, same attendee actually says the Scylla system come pre-trained and that clients aren't able to use their internal data to either retrain or enhance the existing training. That is correct. We talked about scrutinizing our models. We won't allow your own data sets to join ours. In specific use cases, if running on an on-premise closed loop, we may be able to, depending on the application, we review the data to understand why it is you want to add training data. But really the way Scylla works, because it's a real-time platform, it will learn from input from the operator. So yes, it comes pre-trained, and pre-trained meaning we have a data set, and that data set gets actively improved daily because we have so many instances running out there now. And that's input from end users interacting with our dashboard and telling us you did this wrong and you did this right. So great job, false positive. And we'll train our model based on that. So it's constantly evolving. We would not allow you to, add data to that because it would potentially open doors to unethical use later down the line. So
and the bias, could be.
But Scylla does learn from its environment.
Right.
So it can learn on a camera by camera basis. So for example, if you're doing gun detection and you're in a K-12 in a band room, we're not just identifying the probability that an object is a gun, but also we measure the aggressive behavior of it. So if I have a violin and I'm in a band room, Scylla sees you holding that up in a prone shooting position. So we look at it, we say, we know that's not a rifle, we know it's not a shotgun, but that's a threatening shooting position. So the first time Scylla may trigger an alert on that, say we want a second opinion from a human. And so that human goes in and looks at it and says, oh, that's safe, that's normal for that environment, and they ignore it. So Scylla will learn, and it will learn that that's normal for that camera in that environment on a camera by camera basis. Because you can disguise a rifle, a rifle is a walking cane, and we don't want to miss anything. So there's a lot of different things that go into consideration when we're identifying a threat. And just right out of the box without training, we're 99 point a whole lot of nines accurate in our identification of weapons versus other objects. And it only gets more accurate from there. So another question, do you have existing integrations with Salient Access and Honeywell ProWatt? So Andre, I'll let you take that.
Those are on the list of integrations in process. A lot of those will use ONVIF bridges to achieve. And if there's core integrations that are going to be running through SDKs or APIs, our engineers are open to developing that. We do have a lot of SDKs, on the table right now. Everything's being integrated to work seamlessly. So Jeffrey, to answer your question, if there's a need for something, and if we know that that's going to be rolled out or scaled, we would put that on the list of integrations that need to come to the market sooner than others. So we already have existing integrations with the big boys like Milestone, Genetec, the larger scalable VMS systems. We work with direct integrations with digital watchdog platforms, NX Witness, which digital watchdog is technically a part of. So the answer is at the moment, no, but that doesn't mean that it's not in the pipeline and it can't be sped up if you need us to. Yeah. Let's see here. Availability in South Africa, absolutely. Definitely reach out to us, Mr. Wasserman, and we'll point you in the right direction till you can get connected with teams specializing for that region. Oscar Integration with drones,
I
absolutely.
can ask, yeah, I can answer this one because this is my customer. Hello to Oscar. So yeah, you know, we do the integration, we do all the best. Recently, we did all the POCs, and it's still ongoing. I hope it will be successful. Yeah, the drones are very focused because, as Chris mentioned, we work on the with the moving background. So this is the stream from the drones, which is available for our analytics. So basically, yes, we do the integration with drones. If you need any specific integration of this, we can discuss as well to scale the project, as Andre said.
So just in summary, Scylla, our neural network is literally a brain. We can teach it, train it to do anything, watch for anything, take any action. It's, you know, there really is no limitation to what we can do. So we're, you know, organizations that may have one challenge today, we can go in, we can solve that challenge. We can also grow with them as their security challenges, their safety challenges, whatever it is they want. We can, you know, we can grow, and it's a, you know, one single source to handle all of those needs. So is it correct that Scylla AI servers can be client owned and maintained on a client site? The answer to that is yes. We do support if a client wants to, you know, provide their own servers. So we will do that for more of our medium and large installations. So for our smaller installations, that's where we have our edge appliances or our stereo line. But it is possible depending on the scenario and the situation. We are a SaaS model or software as a service for any operating expenses. We also do a capital expense. So we will sell the software and provide maintenance and support for a period of time, and then offer options for ongoing maintenance and support for customers that do want to own their licenses. Another one, do we have any cases where the customer has requested for a law enforcement entity to have access to data notifications from Scylla? If so, how was that rolled out? So answer to that is yes, we can integrate. We integrate with a company called Intrado that manages you know, the peace apps. Well, we can take our alerts and we can route those to the closest 911 dispatch center for wherever that alert was generated or detected.
And a lot of the places that we've deployed have contracts with local PD. You know, like sports stadiums, they'll on game days, the outer perimeter protection is provided by PD, and so they have their own, you know, logins, and the notifications can be pushed out to their dashboard. And a lot of times those precincts will actually have access to VMS as well. So by default they get the notifications. But if the notifications be channeled, whether through integration or just direct pipeline as users, we can do that. So Scylla can roll that out in many different ways, depending on the use case. We are an integration friendly platform. So if there is, you know, a solution that is already in place with your customer, or, you know, or that a customer is already using, we can do an integration into that. Highly likely. Absolutely. It only strengthens our product. You know, we broaden our horizons, so we're open to working with existing platforms and integrating. All we need is an SDK and dedication from the other side, and we'll make it happen.
So maybe to do some little conclusion over what Andre and Chris mentioned, like we are highly customizable to the customer's needs, kind of which also can differentiate us from many of the market players. So if in the beginning, you know, like a new company, we used to like create something, then offer to the market, and let's say in 70–80% of cases being right, that yeah, those things are indeed demanded in the market. But currently we are mostly growing through let's say recommendations of the real needs of the industries. So the main features we're using now are highly demanded in the market. So also we do a whole bunch of customizations, dashboard, all the integrations and whatever. So it's also an answer to previous question.
There really is no limit to what we can or can't do. So if there's a use case or a solution that we haven't created, you know, we're even open to hearing that use case and training Scylla to address that specific issue, scenario, or problem. So reach out to us, let us know. Easiest way, you can reach out to anyone here on this panel right now. You can go to Scylla's website, which is Scylla, SCYLLA.ai. I think everybody can find that. And reach out to, you know, under our contact us, and we'll get right back to you.
All right. Well, thanks so much. That wraps up our webinar today. Again, really appreciate your time. We will be sending out a link for the recording so that you can go back through and listen if you want to. And again, thanks for joining us here from the Scylla team, and hope you all have a wonderful day.